Part number two.
Part number two. Yeah. Welcome back to the Homesteading for Beginners podcast. This is Mona Weathers, your host. Today is part two of the series on horses and homesteading with Jill Winger. I hope you enjoyed the first part, and if you have not listened to that, I recommend going to listen to that one first. Jill and I just have a great chat about owning horses, and this is part two, so I'm just going to let you go ahead and listen to part two. Just remember to listen to part one first, and then check out all the links in the show notes. So some of the benefits are, we talked about, our own development, like our own mental health, exercise. A lot of people think that you just get on the horse and the horse is doing all the work, but that's if you want to be a sack of potatoes on a
right.
horse.
Yeah, it can be very athletic. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to, especially as you get into more, if you're competing or things like that, you really have to use a lot of muscles.
Yes.
Every time I take a break, which I haven't ridden. Okay, Jill, you'll understand the feeling inside me right now. I haven't ridden in like 2 years.
Yes. Oh, I get it. I know exactly that feeling. Yeah.
It's really hurting inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I am determined this summer to get back. I have the 2 retired horses, and then we have 2 other horses. My daughter's pony that she used for mounted games, and then another horse that's actually boarded here. They're both rideable. It's just life has just not allowed me to do. But it really it's a disconnect. Like I feel like something's disconnected right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So your exercise, you can get connect with nature. You mentioned that as well, getting more connected with nature. And I recently, in the last couple of years, found out about their electromagnetic field of their heart. Have you done any research on that?
I haven't. I think I've heard it in passing, but I haven't gone deep on it.
Yeah. So this was, I actually got this from Redmond Equine.
Oh, cool. I love Redmond.
Yeah. So it's a heart-to-heart comparison of a human horse magnetic fields. So horses have like a 8 to 10 feet radius. Oh, I mean, not horses. People have a 8 to 10 feet radius. A horse has a 45 to 50 feet radius.
Oh, interesting.
So, and it says horses have lower frequency heart waves that benefit humans. So they have it, according to this little chart.
Yeah.
They can lower blood pressure and heart rate. Increase production of pain suppressors, decrease stress levels, reduce anger, hostility, tension, and anxiety. I guess that would have to depend on your ride. if you're riding,
I'm like definitely not getting those benefits, but sometimes I am.
Yeah. And it says increase empowerment, trust, and patience, and improve social functioning. Which that's interesting. Yeah. But yeah, those are the benefits. And the okay, so let's speak now to the total newbie. What advice would you give someone who has never ridden a horse? Or wait, that doesn't have to be it. Somebody who has never owned a horse and wants to have a horse on their homestead.
Yeah. I think the first thing, I love people who take action. I love people who just dive in before they're ready. I would say maybe with the horses, do a little more prep work than maybe with a chicken or bringing a goat home, because I just see them as a different sort of category. Yes, they're an animal. Yes, there's similarities with a goat or a milk cow or something, but they're bigger. They can be more dangerous. Like a horse can kick you with way more precision and force than most milk cows will. I mean, they can kill you. So they are something to be respectful of and to really understand what you're getting into. And it doesn't mean you have to be scared of them or you have to, take 10 years to prepare yourself. But I think a lot of times I see people not understanding what they're getting into. And so, do your homework, have an experienced horse person with you. I think a lot of the horsemanship, it's really hard to learn on videos. Like you can learn to milk a cow on a video or learn how to can on a video. It's hard to learn the horsemanship just on videos and books. You need to have that hands-on to see it in person, because there's a level of feel and understanding that you can only just experience in person. You just can't get all of that on a video or a book. And yeah, I think be willing to let this become a new a whole new hobby or a whole new pursuit, because it can really take you a lot of places. It can open up a lot of new worlds, but it's a whole thing. It's a bigger, to me, it's a bigger world to explore than just the world of a dairy goat or a chicken or whatever. Like there's a whole world behind the door, and it's fun to open that door, but be willing to take that ride.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there's a lot of great things about horse people, and then there's a lot of things that are like, like horse
Yes.
people can be wonderful, and they can be really super judgmental.
People, yeah. I have friends who are like, "Oh my gosh, they're not horsey," and they're like, "Those horse people." I'm like, "You are right. Horse people are difficult, man." And I'm like, I identify as one, but also horse people are a whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. So just find the people that you trust that are willing to explain the simplest processes, simplest things in a way that you feel like is helpful for you, because I learned this when I was taking my kids through different instructors, whether it was horses or piano teachers or whatever. It was like, I don't need to waste my time having a teacher not explain it well. Like I'm not going to pay someone or have my children not feel like they're empowered by the end of it. So you can make that choice for yourself as well. You don't have to like choose somebody who's a jerk just because they're so cold, really good. You can find people. I mean, I've had some teenagers explain very well to my kids some of the, some horsemanship things. And so, there's just those people that are willing to take the time to explain things. And those are the types of people you want to.
Yes. There's a lot of ego in the horse world, which is unfortunate. But yeah, you don't have to pair up with those sort of teachers. There's good people who are willing to teach and be humble about it.
Yeah, I agree. So let's go through the cons, because, I mean, there are a few of owning horses. I like to do the pros and cons list. So the pros, we went over the pros, and the cons would be like, one is that they tend to be way more sensitive and are prone to more illness and injury. Would you say that's true?
Yes, my husband would also say that's true. He's always like, "Oh my gosh, you look at them wrong," and they try to cut their foot off. So yeah, they are more sensitive, I found, than our other farm animals for sure. And you have to, some of them are pretty, some of ailments or whatever are pretty serious. You have to be able to identify what's going on and act quickly.
Yeah, because especially their digestive system is like, yes. But I guess that's true of goats, and like if something goes wrong with their digestion, it could go pretty bad pretty fast too. So
bloat and I mean, they're all like that. Horses are a little more high strung, or I don't know, delicate or whatever. But
delicate is the word.
For all the animals, delicate.
Yes. for the size that they are very delicate. Yeah, their legs are delicate. The legs. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's one of the cons. Like earlier I said, they can be expensive, and for you have pasture. How much of the year are they able to graze on your pasture? Is that all year round?
No. And I think some places, well, in Wyoming, because of just the shortness of our growing season, I put them on usually in May and pull them off in October. Okay. And and then we're feeding hay, and I keep them in a pen usually in the winter with a big bale of hay just to keep them off the pasture and give the pasture a rest. But yeah, it is expensive. We do some of our own hay. We bale it ourselves or do custom haying, so that helps. But yeah, that's an absolute expense that you have to keep in mind. And you can keep a horse in a stall or a pen all the time and feed them hay year round. It just gets more pricey. And I do think it's good to have them out on pasture if you can, just because they're meant to be out, moving around.
Yeah, I agree. We don't have a big turnout, but we have a turnout for ours. Yeah. And then 2 of the horses come in at night, and because part of it's just electric fence. Yes. That's the other thing. You can get away with some things with horses if they're like the electric fence. You can do that, and it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, depending on the horse.
Yes, we have a little bit of electric. Just to kind of divide some things up, and it works well. They'll see that it's a one little white strand. They're like, oh, like, no, absolutely, like won't go near it. So it works good. Yeah.
I have one, the older one that I was saying, that the 33-year-old, she, for the longest time, she didn't even know the thing was not hot. And then, so she would just respect the line.
Yes.
And then once she figured out it wasn't hot, she would figure it out and get out. But it's you can train them. They're easy to train that in that way, I think.
Yep.
But their dietary needs. So a lot of times, especially when they get older, they need extra supplements and extra feed. Like my 33-year-old she eats a lot of senior feed right now because she has trouble keeping her weight on. Is that the way do you supplement as well?
I haven't done a lot of green. I think if I was using them harder, we might supplement with that. So right now they're mostly grass. If I feel like they need a little extra, I'll get alfalfa mixed with the grass. But yeah, when I've had older ones or had ones that were struggling with the weight, which sometimes there's certain ones that just struggle keeping the weight on. We've bought lots of bags of the equine senior, which is definitely pricey, but yeah, sometimes it's needed.
Yeah. Yeah. And their weight can change so fast.
Very fast.
That's why you kind of have to really be, on top of your animals, because right now, even she was doing fine during the winter. And then suddenly she lost during the summer. I think the summer and the flies, like her
flies.
putting out extra energy to keep the flies off and stuff.
Yes.
She started losing weight again. I was like, dang it, we just got you up again.
Yeah.
So we're working on that. We're working on getting her weight up, but that is a con. You have to you may have to supplement, especially if you have an older horses. And a lot of times people who are new will get older horses because they're a little bit safer generally. Yeah. And then earlier I mentioned you need to be aware if you have an older horse, their lives don't end like usually very well. So you have to have plans to do what you need to do at the whether that is, a lot of times it's really hard to make the decision that if they get to a certain age, sometimes it's just better to put them down rather than try to give them away, even if they're not at the point where they actually need to be put down. We actually had to do that with one of ours. He was like 33 or 34, and every winter it was just getting harder and harder. And I was like, we need to just put him down to where it's not an emergency. That was our biggest thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been there, and it's a hard call, but yeah, when they're just not getting the weight, and sometimes I'll do it right before winter when it's, they're going in, you don't want them to suffer through the cold and they're already skinny. And so, but it's a hard call.
It is a very hard call. So emotionally, that's a con too. You have to deal with a lot of emotional stuff. I think it's a good place to end as far as the horse topic. There's so much. Mention that book. The author again, is if somebody wants to maybe read on what you were talking about. You mentioned an author.
Yeah, Wendell Berry. He has horses and he talks fondly of horses. I don't think he really has horse books necessarily, but if you really want to just read about that relationship with nature and that partnership versus the exploitive, that modern mindset's really about how we exploit nature and the land and the animals to our usage. And he's more coming along with that regenerative approach. He has a ton of books. A really good one to start with is called The Unsettling of America. That's a good place to start with his philosophies.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I mean, there's so many books you can go and read on the topic of horses. Do you have any favorites that you?
Yeah, I think anyone in the world of Tom Dorrance and his students, I always am listening. Are you familiar with his teachings?
Yeah.
And he wasn't a writer per se. I think he was really someone you needed to be around, but he passed a number of years ago. And so sometimes just reading his books, you have to kind of read between the lines because he speaks not in riddles, but he has bigger concepts that you kind of have to chew on. So him or any of the people that learned from him, I always pay attention when they're talking or writing something. Yeah.
Yeah. Warwick Schiller. Is that how you say his name?
Oh, yes.
Warwick Schiller. I met him on Clubhouse once, and he's really a neat guy. He's very, very nice. And what I liked about him is that he is a teachable person.
Yes.
That he doesn't have it all figured out. I mean, I think he changed his whole philosophy at some point with the way he was training, because he realized one of his horses was not responding the way all the other horses did. And so he had to really, and I love that when someone who's really very educated and knows their topic, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, I don't know anything.
Yeah, I respect that so much.
I do too. I feel the same way. Yeah. Okay. Speaking of books, I know you have a book coming out in October. What's it about?
Yeah, so it's called Old Fashioned on Purpose, the same name as my podcast, and it's a homesteading book, but it's not a homesteading book. It's like a bigger picture book. So it's not a tutorial or a how to, but it's more the philosophy of living this lifestyle with more intention and really asking and answering the question, what did we leave behind as we've raced towards progress at all costs over the last 100 years? And how can we take some of those pieces that we've left and bring them back into our modern world? And so, it's just kind of looking at that and talking about my story and my journey. And there's some horse stories in there too, here and there.
Oh, good.
So,
I was going to ask you that. I was like,
Yep.
Are there horse stories?
There are horse stories, yes.
I have this. So I did this something fun at the end of my last podcast episode or interview with this keto guy. And I asked him some questions. So I wanted to come up with something fun that I do at the end. But if it doesn't work out, I'll just take it out.
Okay, sounds good. I'll try to be fun. I don't know. We'll see what that's
well,
okay.
it's okay. So what it was I actually asked ChatGPT. Have you ever heard ChatGPT?
Yes.
Okay, so I've heard it's an auto AI tool that you can get basically, and I've been using it for just random things. And I asked ChatGPT, list 10 things horse crazy girls do.
Yes.
And it came up with a list, and I wanted to go through it and see what you think if this is something that you do. Okay.
I'm curious. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the thing that it says before is like crazy horse girls are known for their passion and for horses, for their love of horses. While the term crazy, quote unquote, can be subjective, here are 10 things that horse enthusiasts enjoy doing. Okay. So number 1 is spending hours at the barn. Crazy horse girls often are found at the barn, dedicating their time to caring for and riding their beloved horses.
Yes, true.
Yeah, true.
Yep.
Yes, true. And a barn, when you were describing looking for your home, and you said, you looked at the house and then you went to the barn.
Yep.
That is exactly what I was trying to do with this property here. We're on, 5.5 acres, but I mean, while we were looking for properties, I was like, I don't really care what the house looks like as long as it's not like condemnable,
Yes.
but if it has a barn, that would be a real big plus.
Totally. Yes. Totally.
But it ended up that we didn't get our barn. We got a nice house. So I guess I should be happy about that.
You can always build a barn later.
Yeah. Okay. They talk about horses all the time. Is that true?
That's true. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you find the person that'll talk with you about horses all the time, then it's even better, right?
Even better. Yep.
Okay. They collect horse-themed merchandise.
Yeah, as a kid, I was really bad on that. Like anything that was horse shaped, like it was all I ever got for birthdays. Like it was bad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't do it so much now.
Not so much now. Yeah.
I'll do things like that.
Yeah.
I have a painting of a horse behind me for those that can't see. But okay. They attend horse shows and events. This is true.
Yes.
I'll actually attend events if I'm not participating at all, just to hang out with the person that is participating, just because to be around horses.
Yes, totally.
I've been known for that over the years.
Yep.
They read horse-related books and magazines.
Yes.
Yeah. They dress their horses in stylish gear. Okay, I don't think I did a whole lot of this, but have you?
Yeah, I mean, not maybe like stylish, like they're thinking, like I like nice tack. I am a tack snob. So my tack is really important to me. And I like to have good quality tack and certain styles, but it's not like pink and purple and like sparkles. It's like, I don't know what their definition of stylish is.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's with colorful and fashionable gear, including blankets, saddle pads. And I didn't do a whole lot of that. I probably would have if there was the stuff that they have now back when I was.
Yeah.
Right.
English is a little more, you guys are a little more traditional too, with like, you don't do a lot of bright colors, which I respect. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. They actually have gotten a little bit more colorful in the last years. Yeah. Yeah. Explore new riding trails. Is that?
Yeah. I'm more like, I guess we don't have a lot of trails here. It's more pastures because there's no trees. So there's it's just, but I like riding in new pastures. I guess that counts. Yeah.
Yeah, that counts. Okay. And then So there's just two more. Create horse-related art, which I did paint that, by the way.
You painted. Awesome. That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, I don't do it as much now, but I used to draw them obsessively for hours.
Me
a day.
too.
Yeah.
When I was really young, I would draw horses. That was all I drew. And my dad was
Same.
an artist, and he showed me like how to do some techniques. And so, yeah, definitely. That I didn't realize that was a common thing for horse people. I just thought I just like to draw.
Yeah. No, I think I think the drawing's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then share their horse experiences on social media. That's the last one.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's always fun. When I got back from horse show, it was always fun to post pictures.
Yeah. So those were the 10 that they came up with. So
I think it did pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it did it. Yeah. Good job, ChatGPT. So
okay, well that's the end of that. But I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, and I really had a really fun time talking about this, and I'll probably listen to this again when I need motivation to like remember all the reasons why I have my horses. Although just being out with them, I can it brings it back.
For sure.
Bring out them, working with them and that sort of thing. So
no, it was good to talk about this. I know, for something different for a change, and it was fun. Yeah,
I'm glad. One last thing, your heart horse that you had, or the horse that you loved when you were 14, what was its name?
His name was Jake. Yeah. And he was he wasn't the greatest to ride, but he was just special because he was the first. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Thanks, Mona. This was a blast.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode with Jill Winger. I truly loved this conversation. Just a reminder, make sure that you check the show notes for any of the information that was mentioned in the show. Jill mentions her book that is coming out. I don't think it's coming out until the fall, so you can pre-order that. There is a link in the show notes. And don't forget about the Cultivating Cash Flow Challenge that I have coming up. If you're listening to this before August 18th, you still have a chance to join the challenge. It's free, and it will be within Facebook and live within YouTube. So we'll be streaming in both of those areas, and you can participate in the challenge, win prizes, and I'm just really excited because my hope is that I can get as many people as I can to start thinking and planning about your homestead income plan. And you can find all that information at homesteadincomeplan.com/cash flow. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.